Hi, Srinidhi. I'm really impressed about the food tech, right, and the kind of supply chain you have established, right, in your company, right. So the environmental impact of your product's journey, right, through the supply chain is a prominent aspect of a sustainability, right? I mean, the way you actually connect the entire supply chain. How can enterprises minimize their carbon footprint across the supply chain?
So, first of all, pleasure to be here in this panel. Let me quickly introduce the company, and
Yeah.
then before I take up the question. So, I represent WayCool Foods. This is India's leading food and agri-tech company, focusing on food development and distribution. We leverage on innovative technology to scale and operate in the complex supply chain from soil to sale. We primarily handle fresh produce, including fruits, vegetables, the staples, and also the dairy products. So, coming to this question, I think when we talk about the environmental impact of the product in the entire value chain, one critical aspect what every business enterprise needs to understand is where exactly in their value chain are they creating the negative environmental impact.
Yeah.
So, if I put a business enterprise into three domains of upstream business activity and downstream, we need to understand where this impact maximum is happening. So typically, if you take the cases of companies like FMCG, automobiles, oil and gas, or any of the service industries, the upstream and downstream impact on the environment happens to be on the larger side. In fact, more than 80-90% of the impact happens here rather than within the business activity, where typically they have both the financial and the operational control.
Yeah.
So this is also the case with WayCool as well. So our primary focus has been in terms of how do we integrate ESG in terms of the undertaking the climate smart interventions which delivers business smart outcome for us. So for example, we operate right from sourcing from the farmers towards supply chain operations and then the distribution. We have interventions on climate smart agriculture with the farming community in the country, wherein we propose and help the farmers in terms of handholding them towards adopting the climate smart and regenerative agriculture practices. We believe that this intervention, one, while it also sequesters the carbon from the atmosphere, but it also delivers better cost of cultivation as well as improved yield for the farmer, which would be an additional incentive to the farmer. Similarly, in the supply chain, I think the primary focus for us happens here with the objective of how do we reduce the food travel miles and also how do we reduce the food loss which happens in the entire value chain. So now this happens through multiple interventions what we take, like strategic sourcing points, the route optimization interventions, and also the local growing and sourcing patterns. If I have to take quickly an example, we used to procure leafy exotics from Ooty region.
Right.
And we used to supply to the customers in Bangalore region, which is almost about 360 kilometers. We, in fact, what we did is we worked with one of the farmer community called as Village Card, who developed a farm in outskirts of Bangalore to produce these leafy exotics, which is just about 2 kilometers away from our distribution center.
Yeah.
Now, what this delivers, this is not just about environmental impact. One, of course, it eliminates the entire logistic related emissions throughout this entire route, but at the same time, it completely eliminates the transport cost which otherwise we would have incurred. And second, for the customer point of view, the produce which is harvested from the village cart, it comes into our system within 1 hour, and from there it reaches the retail outlets within next 1 to 2 hours time. So the freshest possible produce is being served to the customer in the quickest possible time. So it has got multiple bottom line deliverables. So this is exactly what we mean in terms of using climate smart interventions which delivers multiple bottom lines for the company. Similarly, WayCool is for us distribution happens to be a prime area as well. In fact, in our last mile delivery, we have ramped up in the last 18 months use of electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Now this has completely decarbonized the tailpipe emissions in our last mile delivery. From 0% we have moved to 22%. We are planning to reach 50% by 2025 and 100% EVs last mile delivery by 2030. So this is one of the commitment which we also given to the EV100 campaign. Probably WayCool is the only agri-tech company who has in India provided this commitment, or most likely even in the globe as well. So all these interventions, how we look at is, while there is climate impact positively which is being happened, but at the same time it makes sense for the business as well.
Yeah.
So I think that is quite critical for us to look at.
And all your distribution centers are having solar panels.
Yes. In fact,
So
at the
that is-
operations, in fact, we have ramped up the use of harnessing green power.
Yeah.
We have implemented water treatment systems which make sure that Mr. Kushker was telling 100% of the water is treated and used for the domestic and landscaping activity in-house itself, so that there is no wastewater going outside our facility. Again, this looks good from the environment perspective, but let me press on this concept. By doing all these things, we are making significant cost savings and bottom line impact to the company. That is a prime element for us here.
Thank you so much. I'm really inspired because you call yourself food tech company. I'll come back to you on the technology side of it, right? Thank you so much, Srinidhi. He touched upon a little bit about how this entire supply chain is stacked. But more importantly, I'm really interested, and I think all of you would be really interested to know what is the technology intervention. So the question goes like this: similar to other industries, technology can play a prominent role promoting sustainability and greener practice in the CPG sector, right? What are some of the biggest technologies that can boost sustainability, and how are they implemented in your space?
Yeah, I think whatever the efficiencies we try to bring in the entire food value chain, we believe that we can scale this only by leveraging onto technology. So Sensa is our in-house built technology platform, which helps in terms of delivering real-time visibility and control across the supply chain. So when I say across the supply chain, right from demand planning, the growth, inventory management, the sales force automation, as well as the distribution. So the technology what we have built speaks with each one of them seamlessly and helps us in terms of making business decisions in the right time and right way. So critically, some of the priorities what we see from the sustainability perspective of integrating technology is certainly in the demand forecast and the inventory forecast. See, for us, it becomes very critical in terms of understanding and shifting this entire food value chain more from supply-led driven supply chain towards demand-led driven supply chain. Okay. So this is exactly what we are trying to do with the Sensa as the technology platform. Now, we honestly don't want to create that inventory within our operations. We don't want to force feed the store shelves with the extra load of products. We clearly understand what is the consumer buying behavior. Basis that is what we procure and we provide the service the customers. So this demand as well as inventory forecast is one of the priority.
Demand sensing,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
And the second priority here, I think he touched upon that point, is more towards circular economy, primarily focusing on the product packaging part of it. So when I say product packaging, it is not just the creating the innovation towards the aesthetic appeal of the product through this packaging, but is more towards what is the design innovation we bring in, as well as rethinking on the type of product packaging that we are using. So that is where we try to focus. And of course, I think there's a significant push, as we all know, from the regulatory side as well, particularly on the plastic waste usage in the plastics usage in the country as well. Yeah. So we try to work on this. Another element which becomes very critical when we talk about ESG and technology, irrespective of being CPG brand company, it is how the ESG data management happens. So this is where we again leverage onto our technology. So when I say ESG data management, right from recording, monitoring, and then reporting, how do you ensure, one, the accountability, two, the transparency, three, the comparability, and lastly, the accuracy of the data. In fact, we leverage onto SAP system, and we have built in-house dashboards for all the business verticals in the company, which publishes the ESG performance each operations wise. So what we have tried to do here is, for example, if I have to quickly give an example, in our operations, we don't go to our operations to record, on the Excel sheet, the energy usage, water usage, all these things. We have implemented IoT energy and water meters. It directly gets integrated with our SAP dashboard, analytics platform. We record all the information and flip the, information back to the business owners, telling that this is your performance, this is where the efficiencies are better, and this is where your inefficiencies are there. So I can focus more on this. So it is more towards not data recording. It is more towards, helping them make business decisions. So that is exactly what we are trying to do. So the bottom line here for us is, combination of, one, operation understanding as well as analytical actions, which is, helping us in terms of unearthing all the opportunities for the CPG brands within WayCool to do well in our entire business performance part of it. Yeah, I think for us, being in the food supply chain space, the decarbonization opportunities happens to be in different phases of this value chain, right from food production, the supply chain, the operation, as well as the distribution part of it. So most of our climate smart interventions deliver, both carbon mitigation as well as carbon removal in each of these phases. So, for example, the route optimization and strategic sourcing points, what I talked about. If I just have to take the case of onion and tomato, in the last 6 months, because of this intervention, we avoided almost about 4,500 tons of wastage, which otherwise would have happened. And we all know that food waste is one of the primary sources of methane emissions as well. Second, on the distribution side, when I talked about the EV, moving towards 22%, we have clocked in about 600,000 kilometers of EV distance as on date, completely eliminating the tailpipe emission from that route. And for us to move towards 100% is the ambition. Within our operations, we have just increased our renewable share to 7%, and we are again targeting, like Mr. Sundar said, the larger ambition. What we are looking at is 3 net zero ambitions: net zero carbon emission, net water positive, and net zero liquid waste discharge. So these are the 3 primary ambitions what we are looking at, and we are working towards these ambitious goals. Yeah.
But you're also working towards the hunger thing, right? Because of saving that food waste.
Yes.
That's very
In
important,
fact,
I believe, right?
food waste saving again. It has got multiple bottom line deliverables. One is, of course, it overall lifts food security in the region. What we are trying to do. When we compare to the Western world and where we are present, the food loss till the customer phase is quite higher in India, which goes to almost 30-35%. Whereas the wastage which happens in at the consumer or at the home is very minimal. It is completely different in the Western world. At the home it is more, and in the supply chain it is better. Now for us, the technology part, what we leverage on, we have tried to bring this down to less than 2 to 4% as compared to 30-35%, which otherwise happens. So that is a significant shift what we have tried to do.
Absolutely.